There you are. Hey, everybody. Welcome. It's 4 o'clock. It's Wednesday. It's time to get together and chat. And I have been sitting watching chat, and I see that Juliana is in Hungary. That is absolutely incredible. Hello, Juliana, thank you for being here. Thank you for staying up late and taking some time to be with us. Love it that you're here. It's been a good week. Hello, Eco Cal guy. Nice. Hi, Craig. Yeah, Hungry in the house is correct. Welcome back, rulers. It's good to see you again. Greetings from, are you in Romania? Are you seriously in Romania? That is incredible. I'm telling you, every week I meet with the team on Tuesdays, and Pete always shows me the international map. I took a picture of it this week, but I don't have it with me right now. But I always like looking at the international map because it shows all the places that we're reaching in the world, which is very exciting. Hi, Daniel. Welcome. Glad that you're here. Yeah, it's incredible to see you. Thank you, rulers, for taking the time to be here. You are consistent in the chat room. Thank you for being here and participating. That's what we need. That's why I'm doing this chat stuff. And yeah, trying to stay in touch with everyone and try and be sort of a sounding board for you, not someone who knows everything, but someone who can reflect on most anything with you. And by reflecting together, we grow. Yeah, that's how we grow. Hi, Stacy. So a couple of people were asking about sound. Joseph Campbell did a wonderful lecture on AUM, A-U-M, A-U-M, and the silence underneath. And that silence that follows the AUM is equivalent to the void. And so you could think of the universe as sound. You could think of the universe as light. You could think of light as a form of sound. And all of these things are frequencies. And frequencies are just basically understood through our senses, the 5 senses. That's why your eyes can feel light. Your hands can't feel light, or they can feel the radiation heat, but they can't see light the way your eyes can. And your ears hear sound or light vibrations, and they translate this into the reality that we are, well, the illusion that we're in right now, because it's kind of crazy like that. Because the world, everything about you, life, collapses as you look upon it. This is what the double-slit test taught us. And the double-slit showed that our consciousness, and consciousness composes the universe, that our consciousness collapses the world that we see, meaning collapses into mind, collapses the chaotic state that is the universe organized through sacred geometry, collapses into form with your eyes, your ears, your 5 senses. And in that, it's sort of like dropping a depth charge into the ocean. And there's a certain depth at which the pressure causes the charge to explode. Think of consciousness in kind of a similar fashion with your eyes, your ears, your senses. And that when consciousness falls into a resonation point that your eyes can feel, you see it. When it comes into a resonation point that your ears can hear, you'll hear it. And this is sort of where the whole idea of sound and aum, A-U-M, and the silence that follows underneath. Ah, the waking consciousness, which is sleeping consciousness. U is the sleeping consciousness, is the unconscious, below the unconscious, and then the silence that follows is what a lot of people would call God. But if you want to go even deeper, you can think of God as a form, and therefore what is past God. God is a form from the unspeakable. And so these are just ways of relationship, of our being able to understand ourselves and the world that we're in, is through these patterns, these frequencies, these relationships that compose the illusion that you live in throughout your life. And then when you die, you leave the body and you go into an alternate dimension, a dimension that's past the body. That's why you leave the body, and then you can see through walls. The material world becomes completely illusory in the sense of that it has no form. And so what that is composed of, what that looks like, where we go, and all that kind of stuff, we can guess at. There have been a few mighty travelers that have gone quite deeply into the out-of-body experience, both consciously as well as at death. And everybody comes back with a different vision, a different experience. And that variability is just basically how consciousness is collapsing for that non-entity that leaves your body. It's really complicated and wild. And so this is what we're experiencing. And we make sense of this by talking to one another and sharing with one another and asking each other questions. And so this is the exciting thing, is coming in and talking to you guys. Hey, Matt, it's good to see you, buddy. Thanks for making the trip. Glad you guys are here. Thank you for being here. Now, let's see if you guys have any questions. And if you don't, then I will go into banners and check it out. Pete's here. Nice. Oh, there's Pete. Hey, Pete. It's good to see you, buddy. Very nice. Okay, all questions to me in all caps. I just said a few words about and sound and how it works. But if you guys have any other questions, let me know. If not, I'll go to banners. Ooh, we got a lot in here. Okay. Well, awesome. That's awesome. I became an annual member of Nature Creatures this week. That's fantastic. Thank you, Hermetic Shaman. Thank you very much. Appreciate that very much. It's going to be a great year. It's going to be a great year. Next question. Hi, Chuck. Hi, Hatfield 725. Happy to catch you live. Awesome. This is your friend from Pittsburgh. My wife and I met you for pizza a few weeks ago. Oh, fantastic. That was greatness. I know who this is. Yeah, I know who this is. This person that's in this, that's right there, has a lot to do with that little gift right there. I hope that's where my finger's pointing, because when I put up my logo, sometimes it covers the live state, but that gift right there. But I can't tell you what's inside. It's our little secret. But thank you for being here, friend. That's fantastic. Okay. Chuck, wow, I thought I was the only one in the world doing daily coffee enemas. But yeah, this was from last week or Saturday. And we had an individual come in that said that she did daily coffee enemas. That's the initiation rites for joining Nature Creature. But yeah, that was great to find that kinship with you. And I'm glad to meet someone who also is like that. There are a number of people on the Nature Creature team that do daily enemas. We definitely are in the state of always being detoxing. Speaking of detoxing, I'm putting together this week's video for Saturday, the intro. And I am watching an interview with Georgiani about Atlantis, which is what we're going to be talking about Saturday. And there's going to be a side to Atlantis I'm going to expose to you guys that Georgiani introduced me to in this video that I'm watching from him, from Danny Jones. There's an interview he did a bit ago. And basically, Georgiani's theory is that the whole human trafficking thing that Epstein is involved with, or was involved, however you term that, with him, is the cover story for the deeper stuff that's going on in Antarctica. And it's sort of the idea that something so horrendously terrible would cause people to think that's as dark as it gets. And what Georgiani opens up in the interview is that it's actually even darker than that. And that's going to be one of the things we're going to begin to talk about, is how Atlantis is the tee up for this situation here. Because as you guys know, it was the Younger Dryas that ended Atlantis. Atlantis, about 12,000 years ago, was wiped out by flooding and meteor showers that bombarded the earth from the implosion of Kantek or Kantek. And after the Younger Dryas was the beginning of our civilization as we know it now. And so the Younger Dryas basically is the middle ground, or the gray in the middle, that renders the patterns between this current dominator society that we live in and the dominator society that took over Atlantis. So we're gonna get into that. And if you watch the intro this coming Saturday, it's gonna be about 20 minutes. Georgiani is going to open that door. And there's a reason why Ghislaine Maxwell knew how to operate a submarine. and it didn't have to do with trafficking. I know a lot of people think that, and it might have been used for some of that, but her intentions with that submarine have to do with the Bermuda Triangle and have to do with pyramids at the bottom of the Bermuda Triangle that were built by Atlantis. It is a deep, heavy duty story that's going to really cause, I think, a lot of you to look even further than the horrendous human trafficking that has gone on to fund the deeper evil that is going on even below the trafficking. And all of that is what's happening in Antarctica. And this is why they won't divulge, or have been so resistant to divulge, the UFO phenomena, because that ties directly into what undergirds the human trafficking. These two things are completely intermixed, intertwined together. And the trafficking is supposed to get you to stop at that layer because it's so horrid that most people wouldn't think there's actually something even darker below that. And so this is what Atlantis opens up. Atlantis opens up all that door. And it also opens up the door of races on this planet. Because Atlantis, they took the genetics from Atlantis and created the races that we have on this planet. That all was a part of the genome alterations that they were doing 12,000, 11,000 years ago after Atlantis died. And then Kantek ties directly into that. And then that leads eventually to Nazi Germany, World War II. The Illuminati, Nazi Germany, that eventually leads to, and in fact, when Columbus came to America, as you guys know, that wasn't to discover America, that was to pillage America, because they already knew what was going on over here. And that was that ancient society that was tied into the Native Americans were tied into the Lemurian genome. And Atlantis, Lemuria, the tee up for the Illuminati, the adventures of Younger Dryas, all of these things are tied together. And when you begin to understand how they're tied together, you begin to free yourself from the cons that group has been using to keep you from finding out the truth. My ears are still popping from my cold. So anyway, we're going to open that door on Saturday. Okay, Chuck, can we talk about how the word was first, in my opinion, sound is the essence of all living matter, literally sung or spoken into existence? Yes, that is the AUM. That's the sound of the universe. And the AUM is the sound that harmonizes and brings the universe together, because AUM contains all of, I think it's the consonants, vowels, I think. Now this is getting far in my memory, but vowels were, they were added in later. And so that sound is to pronounce all of the letters that form creation. And so speaking Aum is the speaking into creation, all that is. And this all comes out of the idea of sound. Now, sound is vibration. And as I started this thing at the beginning of this chat, I showed that our reality is a form of vibration. So our reality is sound. Our reality is light. Our reality is resonance. And this is why you can equate, or you can accord the world through sound, through light, through consciousness, because these are the undergirding, supporting factors that bring about reality. When you think about it, if you didn't have vibration, you wouldn't have this reality that we have, because everything is resonance. And the only reason why we have solid things is because they're vibrating so fast you can't put your hand through them. You can't see through them, because they're vibrating at such an intense level, and you are tuned. You've been tuned into that, or you're tuned into that with your senses. You see? And so this is why Tesla said you can only understand, or you will understand the world through energy, frequency, and vibration. That's how you understand the world. And so that's sound. That's light. Right? All good stuff. This is fantastic. Let's go to comments. We'll go back to banners in a minute. Okay. So Shan says we got some good questions. So I'm gonna scroll up to the question. Is it true that Atlantis fell from 4D to 3D? This is a great question, rulers. Wow. Okay. So Atlantis was a crystalline city. They were based on the power from the ionosphere, and they were a highly conscious society in the sense that they were infused with Kantekian DNA. And so the Kanteks were living on Atlantis, which is this planet before the Younger Dryas. And they are a highly psychic society whose planet blew up from their intense STS. And so they came here to Atlantis, and they were one of the 3 races of people that existed in Atlantis and around the planet. Now, Atlantis, you can think of Atlantis as the world capital. So it was a concentration of this highly psychic, highly in tune society that had tapped the ionosphere and had tapped into consciousness through the powers that they had harnessed within their intelligence on this planet. So Atlantis was like this concentrated city of power. And it was the best I can gather is that it was ruled by aliens, the Kantekians, who came here. And they helped to build the pyramid systems, the pyramids that are all over the world, all come out of, in my opinion, Kantekian tech. And that is the technology that the pyramids at Giza, the crystal pyramid at the bottom of the Atlantic in the Bermuda Triangle that alters the electromagnetics and therefore electrogravitics over the Bermuda Triangle or under the Bermuda Triangle, which is why the ships sink there and the planes crash there. It's because there's an electromagnetic anomaly from a giant crystal pyramid at the bottom of the Atlantic that's 10 whatever size larger than the Giza pyramid. And this is all we're going to open all this up on Saturday. And the theory is that those advanced Kantekians are those white aliens, that they're related to them. And those aliens are the ones that are in Antarctica. That's their tech down there. And they are tied into the technological advancements that Nazi Germany, aka the United States, because remember the US funded Nazi Germany, they are the ones behind that. The big thing you can't put together that they don't want you to know is that it is this alien race that is undergirding all of the tech and human trafficking on this planet. They're in cahoots with the Lizzies and the Orion network. They are all tied together. And this is why they will not allow, to this point, all that UFO stuff to come out. So this relates to your question here from 4 and 3D, because Atlantis was so advanced, they were directly tapping into 4D with their consciousness technology, their crystalline consciousness technology that they exemplified through their pyramid tech. They harnessed and utilized through the pyramids. That all is Atlantis stuff. So the wild story is that Ghislaine Maxwell was using her sub to go down to the bottom where these pyramids are, of the bottom of the ocean where these pyramids are, and that they were doing their own rogue, essentially, efforts to tie into the genetic mutilation technology that is behind and funded by human trafficking. I just gave it away. That's the big, deep, dark secret that we're going to be exposing on Saturday. And so Atlantis, it wasn't that they fell from 3 or 4D or whatever you want to call that. They were both. They fell into SDS, service to self. They had a contingency of STS and a minority of STO, exactly the way it is on this planet. They set this up exactly the way they set up Atlantis, which was this obvious leaning or advantage of this STS, service to self, ideal. And the smaller minority is the STO faction. And there is a playing out, of the free will of these two ideals. And because free will cannot be impinged upon, you have to let these ideals as a controller flow out, or you gather negative karma. When you impinge on the free will of another, you are taking on negative karma of both them and you, because you are advantaging their free will. This is why they have that idea of the revelation of the method. They have to tell you what they're going to do to you and have you agree to it before they can overtake you, can take your sovereignty. It's like the Christian that admits they're a sinner. They have agreed with the egregore that they're fallen. So because you've agreed with the controller, you have submitted, or you have given up your sovereignty because you've turned over your identity. This is classic 4D corruption to overcome a 3D consciousness. And so the revelation of the method is getting your victim to agree with the scenario so that then you don't take on their karma. You actually can impinge upon it without any effect on you because they've agreed to it. It's like when the person walks into Dracula's house. You've agreed to the threshold. You've agreed to the bounds. Dracula said, hey, you want to come in? You can come right into my house. And when you say, yes, I want to come into your house, you're saying, I submit my powers to you. I'm walking into your threshold, your domain. I'm agreeing to it. And so therefore, because I've agreed to your domain, I've agreed to the rules of that domain. I've submitted my sovereignty. This is why all religions want you to admit to something about yourself, some kind of negative thing that you must submit because you're compromised. Sorry, hang on. Sorry. So you have submitted yourself. You see, when you agree to the grounds, the rule play of a controller. Now think about it. The entire world is a field of experience. If I can control that experience as a controller, I control everything in that sphere. I control of it because I am ruling over the planet, the field. I'm the director. So if I can get the actors, quote unquote, us, to agree with the rule play that you establish as a controller, you see, you control the whole field. And this is why they took over the world with religion, because you can control the entire field, right? You can control the entire field by getting all the actors, the players, the beings to agree with you. That's called Stockholm syndrome. When you take on the values of your controller or abuser. And this is why all Western religions in particular are a form of Stockholm syndrome, because all of the converts, all the believers have submitted their sovereignty. They have agreed to the field play. I'm a sinner. I'm in a sinner's world. The world is fallen. I agree to this scenario. I place myself into this scenario. Do you see what's happened then? Now, as the controller of religion, I've gotten all the actors to agree with the bounds that I've handed them in a book, be it to the Quran, be it the Bible, be it the Torah. And so therefore, all the people who engage in that lifestyle, in that way, that religious ontological understanding, everyone who participates, they then submit to it. They then are they've done it. They've walked into, they've crossed the threshold. And so Atlantis had that same STS-STO ordeal going on. And some people awaken and some people don't. And the vast majority don't, because they want the pleasures. They want the 3D pleasures, joys, experiences. And so they give up their spiritual essence for the 3D. And if you can get a whole planet to live a lifestyle like that, which is based in materialism, namely dominator culture, you see you've got the society. And this kind of thing happened in Atlantis. And you had a contingency of STS that got more and more and more and more powerful. And eventually the society had to be wiped out, because it was going to implode the planet in the same way Kantek imploded itself. Too much tech, people were becoming too aware. And you have the STO faction, which, like right now, was beginning to find out the scenario, because once you find out the magician's trick, you don't fall for the trick anymore. That's why it's so tough to leave religion, because religion is a mental trick. It's a psyop. And you have to figure out the trick. You have to figure out the psyop, or you're going to end up like Atlantis. You're going to be destroying yourself. Or like the Kanteks, destroying yourselves. Yeah? Okay, continuing. Great question. What's this, Chuck? The Twistone, also called the Great Crystal, Firestone, or Terrible Crystal, was the central power source and technological heart of Atlantean civilization. Yeah. I think that they basically set up all of, think of it this way. You guys know about the dragon pathways on the planet. You guys know that there are resonating paths which travel round and about and the circumference of the Earth. And there are highlights, resonation points, where a number of these pathways intersect, and it forms like Mount Shasta, or there's a number of them in Iran. And what they do is they're a concentration, follow now, of the Schumann, the base bell resonance that rings this planet like you would ring a bell. And just like a bell, if when I ring a bell and I were to put a camera on that bell and to show its resonations, you would find that there are resonating fractures that pass through the bell. That's why when they strike the bell hard enough, it creates those cracks. Those are resonating fractures. The Earth has those. And those pathways of resonance are highlighted. Now, Giza, think of Giza. They took a pyramid and they put it right on top of those highly resonant factors, highly resonant frequencies that surround the Earth. So what you're doing is you're harnessing, follow now, you're harnessing the powers of the Earth into this concentration, a concentrated monolith made of mass, crystalline mass. And then you're harnessing it, and then you're controlling how its power is put out. Like you're tapping into this exertion of power. Think it like a portal. And there's this high resonation point, and if you pass through like a round portal, like if you pass through the portal, you're passing through the resonating point, which gives you access to a higher or different frequency in the universe. That's how you pass through a wormhole. You're connecting your frequencies. So time doesn't exist. It's instantaneous. It's resonation. It's resonation. Okay. Like the neutrinos that are all connected, that they measure, it's the same idea. Okay. So we have, so what would happen then is all those pyramids around the Earth would then all tie in together to a centralized location. I'm guessing that was probably Atlantis. And this is where you can then begin to gather the high point resonances of the planet through the dragon paths. And you do that through these pyramid structures. All these things are connected. All these things are communicating with each other. Do you see? And this is how you begin to harness the natural 3D resonant power of this planet. Its gravitational pull, its attraction, its features and aspects, just like you. And as an artist, you will concentrate your gifts, talent, personality, all these characteristics into this whatever it is that you do. Music, you build things, build ideas, help people, whatever. And when you concentrate this artistic side of you into a hobby, into a interest, it's the same spiritual idea as what's happening on these pyramids in regards to the planet. You're concentrating the art, you're concentrating the resonance, and you're projecting and tapping into that concentration. Do you see? Big story, and everything's connected. Everything connected. Hi. Yes. Yeah, the buildings, there's a number of buildings that have all been X'd out from the drawings. Okay, Catlin Kiss. It's not the Cassiopaean story, just a reiteration. Oh, well, shoot. Don't take that away. Wait, here. It's not the Cassiopaean story, just a reiteration of racial ethno-supremacy, i.e. Semitic infusion versus Nordic. No. These are all just integrations. They're not battling each other. And the idea of NPC is just another way of dehumanizing. No. What? Okay. So the theory of the Cassiopaeans is that when humankind came to this planet, we jumped into prepared bodies. This is the Cassiopaean theory. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. I'm giving you the theory. And so their theory is that we came out of the void as the creative essence, the creative aspect, the creative spirit out of the void is us. In the same way you have ideas, and those ideas manifest as you create them. Think of the universe in the same way. And we came out of the creative faculty of the void. However you want to see that. There's no words for it. And then we came here to have a human body experience. Okay? And we came and infused bodies that had been prepared here on this planet. And when we infused them, we changed, follow now, the DNA of those bodies to this. We became this. Smooth flesh, beautiful hair, beautiful eyes, lovely dexterous hands. Like we can do ballet, we can paint paintings. We have incredible gifts that a Neanderthal wouldn't be able to realize. Do you follow? We entered Neanderthal bodies. This changed the consciousness. This changed the awareness. This changed the essence. We became the potential of the spirit of the void and those bodies. The animating factor is us within these bodies. Now, what happened after that was what you have here, exactly, Catlin, the Semitic infusion, which was an alteration of the consciousness and a focusing on the material aspect of existence and addiction to it. The Semitic infusion closed, frustrated the expansion of consciousness to focus in on the material existence. Good and evil, wars, pleasure, pain, light and darkness, an obsession with the material world. That's the Semitic infusion. This brings about an entirely different personality that is more fanatical, addictable, controllable. Okay? And that infusion spread genetically, eventually over all the planet. Everybody eventually got it, quote unquote. Because this went on for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. Okay? Now, understand then that as time goes on, that Semitic infusion manifests within the societies that develop over time. And what tribal groups figure out is that I can live a lot longer and have a lot better a chance to exist if I'm in a group. This is the beginning of tribal mind. If I'm in a group, I'm a lot safer as a family if we're around a whole bunch of other families and we all protect each other, we all help each other gather food, we all plant the plants, we all hunt the animals, and everybody's got skill sets that can contribute to the group, which makes that group stronger. In other words, if I'm linked to somebody in a group and that's a total genius, they're going to have ideas that I'll be able to build as a part of that culture because of that idea that they had that I didn't have. So the potential of the society, right, is determined by your specialists. These became the priests. And those specialists can launch, right, that tribe into an entirely deeper and deeper consciousness so much faster than if you're just working with one family genetic. Okay. As these societies developed, that Semitic infusion begins to take over as the society, as the tribe complexifies. And what you begin to have is a mindset, a fanatical mindset that begins to surface as the society complexifies. And you have to wait to allow that society to complexify with more and more people before this Semitic infusion is going to begin to surface. And you're going to have the ones that are most tainted by it jumping and wanting the authoritative positions that then will determine the directives of the society. And this is how you take a mind infusion and direct a society. You just wait for the concentrations to surface, then they will over a few hundred years. And eventually you get a dominator society because this Semitic infusion is within. And it doesn't matter the color, the race, that doesn't matter. It's a Semitic infusion. It is across all the society. Nobody escapes this. Okay. Eventually, it was 50,000 years later, Kantek explodes. And they got to offload a whole bunch of Kantekians because they've destroyed the planet. They're about to. Bruce Fenton talks about this. And they came here. The Kanteks came here. This psychotic, highly STS, highly psychic society. Follow now. They came 50,000 years later after the Semitic infusion. Now you got the Kantek, STS, alien whites coming here, and they're putting then their DNA into this society that's already been Semitically infused. So now you're further concentrating the entire populace of the planet with both the Semitic infusion and Kantekian infusion, Kantekian DNA. So understand, Catlin, every single race around the entire planet is infused with these two anomalies, the Semitic infusion and the Kantekian DNA infusion or inculcation. Not to mention the mind F they do with all the language and casting spells, which is what speaking is. Okay. With that in mind, you then can understand with all of these genetic changes that they are infusing into the human bodies, right, that I talked about from back in the beginning, 309,000 years ago when we jumped in, this is what created all the colors of human beings, all the facial features and body expressions that races feature on this planet are all part and parcel of the genetic mutations that have been going on since we jumped into these bodies 309,000 years ago. Atlantis was a drawing out and a beginning of racism between these different societies that are developing. Because you have this Kantekian, highly psychic, highly intellectually gifted society that's also STS, amidst a Native American type of society that's also around during Atlantis, which is STO. Follow now. And so you have factions of people, races of people that begin to develop dislike and distaste for one another. Do you follow? And this has all been imposed on us as human beings, planetary-wide, by this group that has been running the planet for thousands and thousands of years. I mean, back to the Younger Dryas, back to and before then. You see then how they have used these different appearances of human beings to cause us to fight one another, utilizing the Semitic infusion of the fanatical infusion that is inside these races. And the controllers are tapping those mental abductions that they perpetrated upon us thousands of years ago. They're accessing them through words, through casting spells, through separating and bringing about infighting amongst the races of the societies. And this is how you destroy the world. You destroy it from the inside out. You inculcate, you infuse hatred into the minds genetically of the bodies that you're controlling. And this is what happens to the societies. We are living this out. Okay? And so that's where all of the races, the languages, the body types, the colors, everything, that is where all of that comes from. Because we all have been genetically manipulated. All of us. It's why there is such vast differences between us in appearance, characteristics, take on the world, things that make us laugh, things that make us sad. We're all unique. And this is offsprings of the racial aspects of us wherever we were born on this planet. And you then can see how they really have worked very hard to bring us to hate one another, to fight one another based on appearance. That's a psyop. People aren't born that way. People are raised to be racist. They're taught to be racist. This isn't a natural inclination of a human being. That is an inculcation in the way that you're raised, in the way that you're brought up. Because just like an alcoholic family raises alcoholic kids, a racist family raises racist kids. These are programs. This isn't natural. These are programs. They are offsprings of compromised, poisonous environments. Make sense? Okay, next question. Someone was popping up questions. If you want to do that, Shan or Stacy, if you guys want to pop up the questions that you guys want me to answer. Here we go. Here's one from Saturday. Hey, Chuck, could you explain why STO individuals benefit by being STO? What are the, I think I answered that. That was the last question I answered last Saturday. I already answered that, so we'll hide that for now. Well, I answered that Saturday. Just go to Saturday's show. I answered that. Okay, let's check in right now with the comments live. I'm going to go to the bottom. Okay. Yeah, this is correct. High verbal, you're correct. And that's also why we only live about 70, 100 years. We used to live over 1,000. Okay, we've been manipulated. Yeah. Yes, this is a very good comment, Kit, and I love that little kitty. Can you imagine what it takes to awaken against these? Exactly. Exactly. You are exactly right, Kit. The entire planetary system has been rigged so that you would never wake to STO. Seriously, a concerted effort. A concerted effort. Here. Resurgence of radical racism in young. Yes. See, the controllers are going to go down swinging. You see, Daniel? The controllers, until the very last one of them, they're going to be swinging. They will never admit fault. They will never take ownership of what they've done. They will go down pointing their fingers. It's like, did you guys see the interviews with Fauci when he was testifying in front of Congress? Do you see that? Do you see that? And you can see how even when he's cornered and he's completely behind it, he still won't admit it. He still will not admit to what he's done. He still will not take ownership of the lies he spread and the people that he killed. Did you see when they asked him to turn around and look at the people behind him that he had caused suffering, had harmed, and he refused to look. He refused to look at him. You know what that tells you? He's a coward. He's a coward. That's why he wouldn't look at those people, because he's a coward. And that's why he hides behind the fifth, because he's a coward. Right? There's no substance there. He's a total loser. And so you can see why they go down swinging. They're cowards. They're losers. They're inhumane bots. Brilliant. Brilliant comments. It is a faux show. Exactly. It is a faux show. Nice. You have to protect yourself. Help Chuck and the team only by putting put questions in caps, please. Thank you. Yeah. 100. Wait. Here. High verbal. 100%. 100%. Don't you guys just love seeing the truth coming out? Doesn't it just make you feel so good when those who have been harming us are exposed and the truth comes out? That's, to me, that is so exciting. It's so wonderful to be alive right now, in that you can see the exposure of those who have harmed us. And by seeing them being exposed, this helps you heal. This helps you heal. Not in the sense of watching someone be tortured. I'm not talking about that. That's STS. I'm saying in the sense of seeing the truth come out. This is raising the frequency. When the truth comes out, it raises the frequency of the society, and it feels good. Okay. Religion is a separation from the divine. Yes. It is deliberately made to teach us a dark lesson. It does teach you, rulers, once you escape from it, then you learn what it was actually showing you, which is that your identity is not determined by a book. Your identity is determined by your realization of truth. And you can only know truth through your own experience. No one can hand you truth. No one can tell you truth ultimately. You must experience truth to know it. And religion attempted to come in and be an intermediary to knowing truth. And that never works. It always will lead astray, because truth needs no intermediary. It is truth in and of itself. It's simply experiencing it. And when you experience the truth, you are freed. And this is why when you leave religion, you are experiencing truth, and therefore you are freeing yourself, because the religion encapsulates your consciousness, captures your consciousness, and shrinks it. That's why religion exists, to shrink your consciousness and separate you. That's why you must admit you're a sinner on the front end. It's to separate you through your own willingness, your own complicity. You go along with it. You see, and this is why religion is a trap. It is a mental trap. You're welcome, friend. You're welcome. Yeah, exactly, King. He's a fraud and a coward. He's a coward. A total coward. Owned up to nothing. Runs and hides. You see, and for those who listened to him and obeyed him, now is the sickening moment, because you realize you obeyed a coward. You obeyed an inhuman monster, you see. And this is really tough for a lot of people, because a lot of people listen to him, King. And I know you know that. I know you know that. A lot of people listened to Fraud Sheet and took his word as biblical. And it's sad. And remember, people like you and me, King, back when Fauci was up, I mean, my Facebook was lit back in the day, calling that guy out. And the pushback and hatred I got back from people for saying Fauci was a fraud was incredible. I lost countless friends over that on Facebook. Countless. Because people couldn't handle my calling out that he was a fraud. The truth hurts. The truth hurts those that are caught deepest in the lie. That's why so many can't stand what I say about religion, because they think it's the truth, and it's not. I tried to wake up a person that I care about religion, but it's hard work due to the inculcation. Yeah. It's almost impossible, anti-involution. The Christian must be jarred out of Christianity. You will never argue a Christian out of Christianity. They have, because again, the truth can't be told, it's felt. And so the Christian has to realize the truth through their own experience. And typically that is through humiliation and realizing I have given my sovereignty away. I have believed in a lie called religion, called Christianity, called Islam, called Judaism. I've believed in it and taking ownership of that and then walking away. And it takes a very big person. It takes a person who isn't a coward to do that. A coward doesn't leave religion. A coward stays in religion. But a truly authentic individual that is truly humane and truly loves and cares themselves and others, right, will have the bravery, will have the courage to do what is right. And that is, you leave the egregore. You learn the trick of the magician, and then you consciously leave. You leave. And cowards don't do that. Cowards don't leave, they stay. So it's a big deal. Okay, exactly. No one can tell you who you are. You know what? That picture's familiar. I know who that is. I know who that is. Hey, I sent you an email, another effing artist. Yes, this is you. I sent you an email. Would love to have a chat. So let's have a chat. Thanks for being here. And I know you're a true artist. I've seen your webpage. I love it. I love dedicated artists. I love people that are just sold down the river to art. And you are one of those people. So that's fantastic. I look forward to chatting with you, another effing artist. Fantastic. Thank you so much for being here. And yes, you're exactly right. No one can tell you your identity. Okay. Okay. Here. Hi, Gail. Welcome. Can we not share this particular channel and get notice from the algorithm, from thumbs up, etc., in hopes we don't get the shills and aggravators in this chat? Yeah, I mean, that's a really good thing to bring up, Gail. That's one of the real challenges of growth, is that inevitably, as we grow and get larger and expand as a nature creature, inevitably there's going to be more and more folks that are going to come on that are haters. And there's going to be more misunderstandings and more complications with growth. And so the only thing I can say to all of this is, let's just enjoy it where it's at now. And as we grow, let's enjoy the growth. And I know you have that attitude, Gail. I know that's how you feel. We're just going to have to be on the ball like we are with our moderation. And I've got great moderators that are very fair, loving, and so on and so forth. Very much so. That's why they're mods. And so, yeah, we'll just try and stay on top of it, Gail. But great concern. Thank you for bringing that up. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes, they are all frauds. Yes, they are. I love seeing them exposed. Here we go. Hey, V, so like our combo about Tony the other night. I don't know the Tony you're talking about. Sorry. Looking forward to you being on the podcast. Yeah, for sure. Can't wait. I can't wait for our discussion. Shoot me an email. We'll get together on Zoom, and then we'll set up the podcast, and we'll have a great show. It'll be a lot of fun. Can't wait to talk to you. It'll be great. It'll be great. It will be great. Okay, so good. Let's go to the banners and see what questions we got. Okay. This is a great day. I'm really enjoying this today. Okay. So this is one thing that I have found in studying Atlantis, is that the quote unquote facts that we have about it are sketch. There's a lot of theories. There's a lot of ideas, because it's a advanced society that preceded us, as before us. And we are really offsprings of all of the genetics that came out of Atlantis. Truly, that's not a metaphor. That really is true. We are the genetic offsprings of what was going on in Atlantis. And it's, in my opinion, that they didn't get sucked up in the sky. It's my opinion that they went underground. It's my opinion that they're the ones that are under the ocean. It's my opinion that they're the ones who are messing around with the control boxes at the bottom of the, what are those? The oil towers that they use for extracting oil underneath the water in the ocean. And you can see, I've seen videos and there's testimonies of these workers, those guys that are those deep scuba guys that do the welding in deep sea water. And they have control boxes at the base of these humongous oil rigs. And they have found that from time to time, these rigs are disconnected and shut down through something that is going into the control box underwater and is either tearing out the wires or rewiring it so it doesn't work. And they actually have, you can watch testimonies of these, they're really straight up dudes. They're just welders at the bottom of the ocean. And they just talk about these amazing stories of what they find of stuff that's been manipulated with at the bottom of the ocean. And so I think there's a huge contingency of these creatures that are from off planet, that are living under the ocean and in Antarctica. And I think it's all tied into the Nazi movement, the US involvement in Nazism, and then the reason why the US government with Project Paperclip imported all the Nazis that were doing the studies in Auschwitz and Dachau to bring that tech to the US, and that became the CIA. That became what underlies the CIA. And this is why they don't want you making all these connections. And all of this goes back to Atlantis because it's tied into the Kanteks. And they were the ones who were part of the decision-making process of what happened to us here, because they were just the genetic. And then you have the 4D gods that are interplaying all of this scenario, that are controlling the STS farming faction that is this 9 planetary system surrounding the sun. This is why all of these things are connected. The Antarctica, the UFO thing, the Nazis, and the US government. That's why these are all connected. And this is why the CIA is working so hard for you guys not to know these things, because it's all tied into what has been going on even below the human trafficking. The human trafficking is the funding. It's the exploitation of the very farm animals that they are genetically mutating underground in the bases. You guys know this, the DUMBs, the deep underground bases. And this is all tied into this technology. In fact, there is even the theory that Giorgiani submits, that they have already mastered and figured out electrogravitics. And so they have ships that go to Saturn all the time. And so here you have on this planet right now, you've got Elon Musk, who is making rocket after rocket after rocket, working with thermodynamic technology to just barely get to the moon. Like, they're just getting things worked out and trying to get to Mars. They're still working on how to get there, right? And you have this faction, think about this. You have this high-tech faction that's been making ships, the white pill ships, that's all CIA. They've been making those things and traveling in 4D to Saturn, to Jupiter, to all these different places for decades. And you have in the midst of that, this cover story that is the rocketry, that the thermodynamic rocketry that is supposedly taking, or is going to take, us to Mars. When the fact of the matter is, think of what's going to happen when this technology, think of this electrogravitic technology that they've already mastered in Antarctica, when that is then integrated into the technology of human beings, which is what's coming. Now imagine what that is going to do to our intergalactic potential, which is why they haven't released this yet. Because if we were sent out, if we became intergalactic right now, you literally would have religious factions of groups of people that would use that technology to then travel to wherever, Andromeda, and begin to try and tell all the aliens on Andromeda, hey, you guys all need to be Christians. You guys need to accept Jesus as your savior because you're all sinners and you need to go to heaven just like us. Psychosis, in other words. Craziness. Like people would take the mythology on this planet and then fly to another planet thinking you guys need to be worshiping the right God. You're not worshiping the right God. What's the matter with you? Madness. And this is why they don't allow it, because our society is mad. Our society is crazy, filled with egregores, lies, and all kinds of ideas that they think that our history is, and it has nothing to do with that. We've been farm animals all this time. And so you can't let the farm animals all of a sudden become intergalactic, because they're going to take all their abuse syndromes with them and infect other societies, just like religions affect societies now. I mean, look at, I probably shouldn't say that, but look at what that particular religion is doing that's moving into all of Europe and the United States. The Brotherhood, the M Brotherhood, right? It's taking its mind parasite and it's pushing it into the society by force. That's fanaticism. That's craziness. It's abuse syndrome. Okay, so everyone has to understand then, as we build in technology and as we become more and more powerful as a race, our brains have to be repaired. We have to recover from the abuse syndromes. We have to gain back through med beds 90% of the brain that was shut off in our genetic. We have to gain back the 900 more years that we are supposed to live. We have to gain back our immune system, which has been compromised. You see what I'm saying? We have to heal as a society before we become intergalactic. And this is all part of the process. Right now, it's like the AA group right now. And you have societies of people that are finally admitting, yes, I'm an addict. Yes, I've been addicted to religion. Yes, I've been addicted to evolution. Yes, I've been addicted to science. Diseases. And you have an entire society that must admit it before they can heal. Do you think our society has admitted it yet? No. A very small SDO portion has admitted, yep, I was abused. Yep, religion has abused me. Science has abused me. Medicine has abused me. And they've realized this, which is the first step to healing. Admitting is the first step to healing. Okay, and so if we are going to become an advanced society, we have to admit and heal from our abuses and our wacky thinking that we have right now because of how we've been raised and how we've been infiltrated by the media. Okay, it's a very long process, which is again why I subscribe to the idea that we are in the cataclysm now. The cataclysm is not a rock coming and hitting the planet and wiping us all out like it has been in the past. No, no, no. The cataclysm right now is our recovery, our beginning to realize and admit and take ownership of how we've been abused. In the same way that happens in an alcoholic and enabling relationship, both parties have to admit where they have contributed to the dysfunction of the relationship. Both parties have to admit and realize this is how I have been harmed and harming in this relationship, how I've contributed to it. And then begins the healing. Then begins the process healing. But the admission is first. And this right now, guys, is what you're seeing happening. Little by little, the admission of the society of, you know what, we're right, we've been abused. Those conspiracy theorists, those guys, those gals, they were correct. They were correct. The world runs on blood money. The world is a farm. This has to be admitted and exposed. That's why today with Fauci was so good, because it's beginning to expose to more and more people that man is a fraud. You believed in a fraud. You took the advice of a fraud. You see? And it's very, very painful and hard for people to admit that. It's very hard because you then have to admit, I was taken by someone who's a fraud. My discernment wasn't good enough. I have work to do. I have study to perform because I have to increase my discernment and find out what's going on so I don't get taken again. And can you imagine from that to the person who has to admit that their religion is just as fraudulent as Fauci? Now think of how painful and humiliating that is to people. Think about it. Think of how hard it's going to be for a person to admit that their religion is a con, that they were telling people about a con, that they were selling a con. Think of this. And folks, this is what's required for us to recover. Think about that. Recovery doesn't start until you admit the problem. You have to admit it, which means you see it, you accept it, you take ownership of it, you see it clearly, you don't get carried away with it. It's just like, yep, that's it. That's it. This is how I contributed. That's how you heal. And we are right now at the very, very base of that. Think of how many people you know in your family, in your friends, at your work, who are blind to any of this deeper conspiracy that undergirds the world. The vast, vast, vast majority. Vast. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, this is one of the things. This is a great question, Chuck Student. This is one of the things that gets me. Because if they were building pyramids at the bottom of the ocean and there was no water, and we're talking thousands of feet down, where did all the water come from? Or were these structures just built underwater, which could very well be the case? Do you see? The fact that they're 2,000 feet under the ocean, right, just makes you, it takes it in many ways out of your ability to cognize what is happening here. It's so beyond in frequency and technology, beyond what you can imagine, that trying to fit it into, okay, then that means that there was no water, so then the earth had no water, so then how did society... So you see, it takes you into, like, 3D doesn't explain it. It's like explaining God in 3D. You can't do it. And the more you try to explain God in words, the further and further away you get from explaining God, understanding God. And I think this 4D tech that's, you know, doing all this stuff, trying to describe it in 3D play by play, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's beyond that. So yeah, that creates a huge thing. Let me go to live comments. Banners. Hide. Okay, live comments. Here, this, yes, you healed through being honest of yourself. You heal being, yeah, I just answered that. Yeah, I think so. I think when the Younger Dryas happened, that was also part of the flooding of the earth. It very well could be that the earth really was quite dry and that there wasn't much water and that the canopy fell, because there was a vapor canopy, because Paul Stamets supports that with his idea that the world became basically 100-degree sauna, and your plants, your vegetation, and your fungi would thrive in a highly carbon dioxide, highly humid, vapor, misty environment would thrive. And Stamets thinks that was going on for millions of years. So yeah, there's just a lot of theory to consider, and all of these are great ideas. I love seeing y'all's ideas because it helps me get other ideas too. It's very good. I very much like this. That's why I like chat so much. So that's tying into, in my opinion, the Kantekians. Yeah, I think that is tying into the Kantekians. And there's something about that blood type that has a psyche that goes along with it that's quite advanced, that has to be turned on. These are psychic powers, but they're latent. So in your everyday living, you don't tap them. They have to be tapped through a certain type of program which unleashes it. Think of it like a depressed person, and they're depressed for years and years and years, and all of a sudden they hear a lecture, read a book, or see a situation that connects something in their brain that's never been connected. And suddenly when they see that connection, hear that connection, experience that connection, and somehow it breaks the barrier to that power. And all of a sudden it's like, you know what? That's why I've been depressed. Oh my God, I now have understood, okay, that's really been the core of my depression. And they make a connection. In that connection, they access a latent power center that was always there. They just hadn't accessed it. And when they access it through awareness, they're like, oh, that solves it. And their depression immediately loses its power over them. It is of my opinion that the Kanteks put latent power centers into the psychic of the human being. That's what happened at the Nordic infusion. This is the Nordic connectivity to humanity. And an offspring of that is a concentration which surfaces as an Rh blood type. Very, very rare. And so you have people, this is what the Illuminati is looking for in the DNA. People that have these latent power centers in their brain, but they're unaware of it. But you can see it through the DNA, you can see it through the blood. And so they are trying to find, the Illuminati are trying to find those that have more and more latent power centers that they can then attack, obfuscate, and then use for the dark message, the dark energy, the dark narrative. to me, that's a deeper thing that's going on with the DNA tracing. When you send your DNA off to those companies that tell you, hey, we're going to tell you all about your personality, we're going to tell you all about your history, we're going to tell you all about this stuff, it's really about they're finding out if you have those latent power centers in your brains because they're so rare. Everyone has a certain level of them, but there are certain people that have a greater and greater amount just on genetic chance. It just is genetic chance. And like sometimes people have blue eyes, which is a recessive gene. But sometimes you get it. Sometimes you get people with red hair, which is a recessive gene. I think it's a recessive gene. And so then it's rare. There's not that many that have it because it's rare. It's a recessive. And think of these psychic power centers as the same thing, but even more deeply entrenched. And they can be turned on with certain words, phrases, sights, experiences. And then the deep state then finds those people, right? And then abuses them so that they can turn those people STS and use them for the evil agenda. That's the deeper, darker story of this DNA searching that you see going on. They are trying to find these hidden psychic power centers that certain people carry more of than others. We all carry certain portions of it, small portions of it, but there are certain people that have massive portions that allow you to expand your consciousness faster and faster because it's a psychic power center. It's not a chakra. It's a psychic power center. It's not even related to intelligence. It's a psychic power. You see? It's tied into a different characteristic of you that's beyond or past intelligence. You see? It's a power center. Okay, continuing. Here. I've watched Your Nature as Identity Part 1 about 10 times. It was amazing, brother. How much? That's fantastic anti-involution. I love it. That's why I did the Nature series. I love reading that. Thank you so much. It is not necessarily a negative bloodline. It is a potential. This is what you have to understand. It's a potential. And it's the evil ones that want to use that potential for evil. That's why you have an STO contingent, right? Where those psychic power centers are not used for evil. They're used for good. It's a potential. And there are bloodlines that have a higher potential of that. It doesn't mean that because you're RH, you're evil. It means you have a potential. There's a capacity there. And if it's tapped, right, it can be used for good and it can be used for evil. Both. Do you see? Like Bach used his potential, his psychic unlocking potential that gave him such incredible gifts. He used that for good, right? And then you have a gifted speaker in Hitler who used his ability to communicate and his gifts of public speaking, and it was used for negative. It could have just as easily been used for positive. It wasn't. It was in the system. It was used for negative. It was used to control the society. Do you see? So instead of using those psychic abilities to free or emancipate the society, those psychic centers can be used to control and contaminate the society. It's a potential we're talking about. It doesn't have all good, all bad in it. It has both. It has both. So don't start labeling people that have a specific bloodline as negative or positive. You're only going to know that through their behavior. Through that potential playing out. Very good. Okay. It's potential, rulers. Don't do that to yourself. If you say that you have negative blood, then you will have negative blood because the world, yourself, become what you believe. That's why it's very important that you're very careful what you believe. You see? And so if you put that on yourself, that you have negative blood, you're going to believe that, and then you're going to act that out in the same way as the person who says, I'm a sinner. That's what I am. I was born a sinner. They're going to act out the sinner's life because that's what they believe. If you believe that you have negative blood rulers, you will encourage that capacity in you and you will act that out. If you don't want to do that, stop believing that your potential is negative and start understanding that your potential is simply potential and it can be used for good or evil. The choice is yours. So if you start then believing that, you know what, I have positive potential in me and I'm going to bring out that positive potential, this is what you will become. Do you see? This is why psychology is so important to study when it comes to awakening, because psychology, the study of the mind, the science of the mind, is going to show you how the mind becomes trapped, how the mind can be used for good and evil, the potential and capacity of the mind. And psychology will render this to you. So the more fluid you become with psychology, you see, the more discerning you will become and therefore be able to use your capacities that you have for the good, for the better, because you understand yourself. You know who you are. And so by doing that, by knowing this, understanding this, you see, you then become a light to the world. Because everybody else has that potential that you have. They just haven't figured out how to use it yet. It's latent. We're going to be talking about this Saturday. Okay? That's my encouragement to you today, rulers. That's my encouragement to you today. Joanne McFax. Yes, here. What you got here? Yes. My mods try and keep up, but sometimes they can't. So put your questions in all caps. And that will make it easier to find your question. I'm going to go to the bottom right now, Joanne. I'm at the bottom now. I'm at right where it says, I use positive affirmations. Fortune, yes, girl, what's up? That's where I'm at right now, Joanne. And if you post your question right now in caps, I can answer it. I'm right at the bottom. It says rulers. Gail time. Joanne McFax. Here, right here it is. Do you think that the mRNA vaccines were part of changing the DNA structure to remove our ability to awaken? They were a culling. They were real. They are real. They are harmful. And they were used to test people, and those who have awakened to the way that the world is would discern and know that the vaccines were only going to harm them. But only awakened people, only those who can read between the lines and see past the media narratives and see past the idiots like Dr. Fauci, those are the ones who won't take the vaccine. So they will not expose themselves to the poison. Those that are drinking in the media narratives, who are believing the authorities, who are obedient and who follow the rules and who get in line, those ones got the vaccine, which shows that they are not aware. And so they are removing themselves by taking a poison. They did it to themselves, in other words. So if you took the poison because you were unaware, you see, nature is saying to you, well, then you get what you deserve. Because the truth was made known to you. It was available to you, but you ignored it because you called it conspiracy. Because you called it, no, I'm going to listen to Dr. Fauci. I'm not saying you did this, Joanne. I'm saying that people that weren't paying attention, people that were asleep, the obedient ones, the bots, the ones that do as they're told, the ones that obey the authorities, they're the ones who got the shot. I watched them. I was working at the grocery store. They set up tents for the vaccines, and I watched my neighbors, my friends, the people that I love going and getting their shots, and you couldn't stop them. I could have gone out there and yelled at them and said, hey, guys, don't do this, don't do this. And they'd have said, shut up, Chuck. You're just a crazy conspiracist. Give me my shot. Okay, so you can't save those people. They're going down the river. You're not going to stop them. They're going down the river. And until they learn their lesson, they're going to stay down the river. And so the ones that took the shot are now learning the hard lesson the hard way. They have to detox. They have to do all these things to rid of the poison they put into their body because they were ignorant, because they fell in line, because they followed orders. And the ones that were tied into it, meaning they lose their job and therefore their income, so they had to take their shot, that's called a tragedy. That's called a tragedy because you're aware, you know this shot is bad for you, but you're so tied into the system that you can't get out, that you have to take the shot. That's called a tragedy. That's a tragedy. And it's the person that knows it's poison and still gets it because they want to keep their job, because they have to have an income. That is tragic. That's just tragic. It's like the health nut that gets cancer. That's just tragic. They're doing everything they can in their powers to not get cancer, and they still get cancer. That's called the tragedy of life. There's nothing you can do about that. But the vaccines were intended to be a culling system, to cull out those that refuse to wake up, that refuse to listen to anything but the media, that refuse to disobey. Those are the ones that got the shot. And typically the ones that got booster after booster after booster, and unfortunately, and as tragic as it is, they're probably not alive today. I have personal friends and family that took the vaccines, and I know that it's killing them. I see what's happening. This is personal friends and family of mine. It's absolutely tragic, and they are ignorant of knowing why they're getting sick and why they're in the condition that they are, because they didn't listen. They labeled everyone that was talking different than the media. You're just a damn conspiracist. You're just a stupid conspiracy theory. You're an idiot. You should be getting your shot. I had a friend that got a tattoo of their vaccine. They were so determined to put it in my face that I was crazy. Seriously, they did. And they put that tattoo in my face to say, hey, Chuck, you're so crazy. Look, I got my vaccines right here. Here's my tattoo here. You can see it. I got the vaccine, Chuck. It's right here. And this is the ignorant person that is just simply showing you and the world, this is how ignorant I am. Because I'm not listening, I'm obeying, I'm following orders, I'm doing what the doctors are telling me. And here's evidence. Here's my tattoo that shows that I'm a bot. I obey. I do as I'm told. I don't listen. I do as I'm told. You see, I don't listen to conspiracy theory. I do as I'm told. That's why, Joanne. That's why. Brilliant question. It's a brilliant question. It is. I completely agree with you, Gretchen. My friends, I watched my friends go get double, triple, quadruple boosters. I even told some of them, you shouldn't do that. Here's all the reasons why. And they basically just said, no, man, you're wrong. You're crazy. You stupid conspiracist. I had friends tell that to me in my face. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? It's just sad. It's just sad. There's no blame here. It's just sad. It's just sad that people are that asleep. It's just sad. This is another one that's tragic. Yes. And you have people who are starving on the street, and then you got the people that are promoting the vaccines that offer them a meal to get a vaccine. It's tragic. It's sad. It's so sad. They're completely advantaging the hunger and sorrow and suffering of another to put a poison into their body. That tells you how horrific and horrible are the controllers that run this world. This lays it out to you. Here it is. But I would have been fired from my job if I didn't. So I think it was so human. You're exactly right, kid. And again, you're one of the people that I say it's so tragic if you were threatened by your boss if you didn't get the job. Oh, excuse me, if you didn't get the jab, sorry. And so you were completely coerced. Like if you have family and they're dependent on your income, I completely understand. It's like, well, I mean, there's nothing I can do. I am completely hoodwinked. You know, I have empathy for you. It's tragic, but at the end of the day, you're still going to have to detox. You're still going to detox. I got cancer when I was living a lifestyle that I thought was anti-cancer. Seriously, I still got cancer. And I had quit soda pop, quit sugar. I was exercising, running 3 times a week, lifting weights 2 times a week. I mean, I was living the lifestyle for years on end. I still got cancer. I still got cancer. So in this sense, life is merciless. Merciless. I was running on those mornings near a river that had battery acid and leftovers from a recycling plant that was dumping their battery acid and all the refuse from batteries into the river. I lived in Frisco, Texas. There's a ton of lawsuits that came of it. And there was a ton of people that got cancer. That's likely one of the big reasons why I got cancer, in addition to my psyche was so effed up because I was so tied into religion. Cancer is a 3-fold disease. It happens because you're sick in your body, in your mind, and your spirit. That's typically why you get cancer, and that's why I got cancer. And even though I thought I was living a humane lifestyle, I thought I was a part of religion that helped people, I thought I had a job that helped people, cancer came in and said, boy, my friend, are you mistaken? Boy, are you mistaken. And I had to learn the hard way that I was mistaken, that I was sick in my body, my mind, and my spirit. And I had a lot of healing and growing to do. Welcome to life. This is good here. Hi, Fortune. I accept the abuse. I hold no spite. I'm responsible now with what I do with it. This is such healthy dialogue, Fortune. I mean, this is incredible. Very healthy dialogue. Continue the behavior or change. Exactly. Which is more uncomfortable? Exactly. That's the way to go. Love you, Chuck, and all. We're not done. Exactly, Fortune. Exactly. And folks, I mean, what Fortune just wrote here, I mean, this is it. You accept the abuse. This is trust, allow, and be thankful in play, in career, right here with Fortune's statement. I accept the abuse. I hold no spite. That's the adult approach, right? That's it. This is how you free yourself. If you want to free yourself from the abuse, stop seeking the vengeance of those who abused you. As soon as you stop seeking the fruits, the vengeance of what they did to you, you will free yourself. You see, this is why you can't find peace seeing your perpetrators being tortured and destroyed. There's no peace found there. Peace is found within. It's not found externally. It's found within. You must move past their abuse in order to recover from it, and holding to their being destroyed because of what they did to you is seeking the fruits, and that leads to your demise. This is the line here from Fortune that's brilliant. I hold no spite. That's the brilliant line. That means that she is freeing herself from the abuse because she holds no spite. This is how you free from it. You stop seeking the fruits, right? You stop seeking the vengeance upon your perpetrators. You see, this is STO. The STS individual wants to see another suffer, wants to see them suffer. Which is why I specifically said today in regards to Fauci, it wasn't seeing him suffer that gave me joy. It was seeing the truth come out that gave me joy. I don't care what happens to Fauci. That's none of my business. My happiness today was seeing truth come out that that man is a fraud. A fraud. And if you listen to him, you will remain in sickness. And in the same way, because Fortune has written here, I accept the abuse, I hold no spite, I'm responsible now with what I do with it. That's the mature response. So, seeing Fauci today, it's like, yep, I'm glad that he got exposed. What happens to him, I don't care what happens to him. I'm just glad the truth came out. To hell with the guy. Moving on. I'm not seeking the fruits. I'm not seeking vengeance. I'm not seeking anything. I'm just glad the truth has come out, and now that man will not be listened to ever again. And this is how Fortune has freed herself from the abuse so that it will never harm her ever again. By doing this, I'm responsible now with what I do with it. Continue the behavior or change. You must change the environment, which is what Fortune is doing, which is more uncomfortable. Exactly. Staying in the poison or leaving to the uncomfortable, right? And Fortune has made the right choice. She's leaving what's uncomfortable. It's brilliant. And this is why Fortune's number 22. Because she's taking the steps to save her life. No one can save your life but you, my friend. You must save your own life. Exactly. Thank you, Daniel. Exactly. Thank you, Fortune, for being the example that she is to all of us. Brilliant. This is why Nature Creature is here, so that we become exemplars of being a human being. That's the point of Nature Creature, is to encourage all of us to become human exemplars of the human experience. That's what adults do. That's what mature people do. They become exemplars of the human race, of the human experience. And this is how we do it. This is how we do it. We take ownership where we have been wronged and stop. We stop the genetic carrying out. Meaning, you don't, the abuser raises abused kids who then become abusers, who then abuse kids. We stop that pattern by taking ownership, what Fortune is doing. Love it, Daniel. Love it. Here. Fauci's a fraud, but they are getting more powerful, and it seems they're going to control us more and more. See my question on nanoparticles sprayed on us. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Gretchen. It's a nasty situation we're in here, and it's hard to see the STO right now. I'm right there with you, love. It's hard to see any positive in what's happening right now. This is part of the process. We right now are finding out just how sick we've been. This is what's happening right now. And in order for us to recover, as you know, Gretchen, we have to find out our diseases. We have to find out where we're sick. We have to find out about the sicknesses, which means we're exposed to them. We see them. And that's necessary. And I know you know this, Gretchen. And so this process right now of revealing all of these diseases is the process of healing. It's like going to AA and you admit I was an alcoholic, or I am an alcoholic, and I have harmed those around me. I have harmed my friends. I have harmed my family. And this is how I have harmed them. The person takes ownership. And this is what we do as a society, each individual. We take ownership where we have been asleep, where we have been short-sighted, where we have been shrunk in our consciousness. And we admit to this. And then we behave differently. We change our environment. We act differently. We learn from where we found out this is where I have been advantaged. And exactly this here, Gretchen, where it says nanoparticle spread us. Exactly. This is why you do coffee enemas every day. This is why you never stop detoxing, because we still, yes, you are right. We are still being poisoned. We are still being preyed upon. We are still being sprayed upon. Absolutely, Gretchen. Absolutely. And this is why we, as the collective, that of the aware collective, we must promulgate and encourage others to detox. Learn about psychology, detoxify your mind. Learn about religion, detoxify your spirituality. Learn about GMOs, learn about the sprays they're putting on our foods, and detox your body. This is our responsibility, Gretchen, and I know you know that, and I know you're a big fan of that, and you want that. And this is why I am here, to encourage us self-healing, healing ourselves, healing the environment, changing the world. This happens one person at a time. And this is why Nature Creature is here, to affect the collective at the ground level, one person at a time. That's why I got the lives saved up there. We are saving one life at a time. Nature Creature is a catalyst to life saving. That's what Nature Creature is. It is a philosophical society that is a catalyst to healing. That's Nature Creature. That's us. And we do it one person at a time, just like Fortune is doing, and she is setting an example to all of us of recovery, self-healing. Fortune is giving us an example of this. My testimony is an example of this. The testimonies of the lives of the meth addicts and alcoholics that we have saved, or I should say we've been a part of them saving their own life. We've been an influence to that, a catalyst to that. This is the role of Nature Creature. And I'm so glad you're part of it, Gretchen, because I know you are of that mindset. I know you're of that mindset. Okay. Twisted Pixie, Chuck, do you believe those who say we consciously make ourselves sick? In many ways we do. We do, Twisted Pixie. Yes. Not always, but in many ways we do. Yes. I mean, think of how drained and empty a fanatic is that's going around fighting people all the time, that's degrading others who are trying to help the society, who's putting down others and hindering their development and growth. Do you see? We sicken the society when we do that. And so, yes, you have to wake up yourself so that you don't make others sick as well as yourself sick. It's all part of consciousness expansion. Twisted Pixie, I love it. Yeah. It changed at Rome. It went from a physical brutality at Rome, remember they're feeding the Christians to the lions, to a psychological brutality at Nicaea. That's what happened. And the Christians went from food for the lions to stormtroopers for the church. You see, it's very, very, very vicious. Here. Yes, please do. Please do. Yes. Yes, you're exactly right, Catelyn. You're exactly right, Catelyn. You're exactly right. You're exactly right, Catelyn. You're exactly right. It's changing. We're in the midst of change right now. Yes, I go between being a nature creature and wanting to start an insurgence in Washington, D.C. I completely understand, Gretchen. I completely understand. It is frustrating. It is frustrating. Yes, it is, King. Yes, it is. It's extremely strong. It's extremely strong. Let's go to banners. Here we go. Okay. Who is this? What is this? Mythological Muse. Hello, Mythological Muse. Chuck. I would like to welcome Lee Ludalis, also known as my best friend Rachel. Nice! That's great. Any friend of yours is a friend of mine, Mythological Muse. As my best friend Rachel, who first introduced me to you years ago. That is awesome. Welcome back, Ray Ray. Glad that you're here. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Mythological Muse, for bringing that up. That's awesome. New friend. We love having our new friends here as a part of Nature Creature. Here's a question from High Verbal. If they get you to agree, but they use deception to trick you into agreeing, then doesn't fraud vitiate all contracts? If you can be deceived, you deserve it. Now let's sit with that thought for a minute. A natural law that I understand is that if you can be deceived, you deserve it. Okay. So in many ways, is religion not preying on the innocence of children by convincing children they're inherently evil and born sinful? Now, it's fraudulent to do that because it's not only not true, but you are capsizing the identity integrity of that child by, as a child, when they don't have discernment, at getting them to admit that they're a sinner, that they're fallen, that they need a religion. Now that child is innocent. That child didn't ask for any of that, but that child has psychotic parents that are putting that kind of negative identity into the child. The child is innocent in this situation. The child didn't do anything wrong here. But nevertheless, if that child never wakes up to the psyop that is the religion put into their brain by their parents, that's ultimately the child's fault, because we are responsible for ourselves and we must awaken from the deceptions, even though they have been inculcated into us when we were young and innocent. This is the ruthlessness of nature. This is the ruthlessness of nature. And we are responsible for ourselves ultimately. No one's going to answer for you. You are going to answer for yourself. And if you grow up in a religion and you never wake up, you never see past the religion, you never take the time, you never take it upon yourself to say to yourself, why do I think that I'm a sinner? Where did this idea come from? Why is this culture trying to teach me this? Where is all this sourced from? Where did these ideas come from? And you never question that? Whose fault is that? Whose fault is that? If you never question it. Now, if the child dies a child and the discernment hasn't developed, I mean, there's nothing you can do about that. But the point being, though, if you become an adult, get into your, say, mid-20s, and you start to actually mature, your hormones are beginning to level out, and you're beginning to think straight, because, I mean, you can't think straight as a teenager. And you start to think straight, and you never go back and question what you were taught as a child. You never go back and look at your spiritual experience and education and question it. Well, if you don't do that, then what awakening do you deserve? And so you're in the contract because you never questioned the contract. So you vicariously are in the contract because you have just accepted this as real life. You've accepted this as real. And in this way, we're responsible. This is the hard, hard reality of nature. You have to awaken. You have to awaken. You are in the contract. You're in the contract. Now, if you want to talk about fraud and like 3D and the behaviors between people and stuff, there are different levels of fraud. Certainly, anyone can agree with that. But at the end of the day, the greatest fraud you can commit is not questioning yourself, is never questioning yourself. That's one of the greatest frauds you could ever do to yourself, is never questioning what you believe, never questioning the authorities, never questioning any of that stuff. And so therefore you deserve whatever deception you're locked into because you never question it. If you can be deceived, you believe it. You deserve it. That's why that statement exists. So I love these kind of questions, High Verbal, because they're really, really hard to answer and they require quite a bit of honesty to get into. Great stuff. Great stuff. So Tartaria was a bit more recent, if I understand correctly. And I think that it was part of Tartaria, was part of these mini cultures, the smaller cultures, awakened cultures, that were in between the cataclysms, because I think that the cataclysms were not just Younger Dryas and before. I think we've been in ongoing cataclysms. And I think there have been ongoing local flooding, ongoing catastrophic events happening for the last 12,000 years since the Younger Dryas. And so I think there were small sects, groups of individuals that had advanced societies that just simply hadn't spread out all throughout the planet. And those were wiped out individually. I think people need to understand just how isolated you can make societies right here on the planet together. Think about this. You have an Illuminati society that has been existing for decades and centuries of time, and the vast majority of people have no idea about it. You have an alien society that's been existing in Antarctica for thousands of years, and the vast majority of people don't know about it. So you could have a society like Tartaria, and they could completely grow and flourish, and half the planet doesn't even know about them. That's very real. That can happen. But yet they got all these structures. You can see the aftermath of them being here. And I think there were little societies like that that broke out, that became over a few thousand years between the Younger Dryas and now. I do. Just like you have a super advanced society existing in Atlanta or in the Antarctic, right in the midst of our society now. You have an anti-gravitic, like they've mastered electrogravitics, and they're existing here amongst us. Meanwhile, we're working with thermodynamics and thermodynamic rocket ships, while another society that's living right here, not right here with us right now, are flying to Saturn whenever they feel like it in a few seconds. And so I think that Tartaria was just another kind of thing like that, where you had this super advanced society that was huge, that built a whole portion of the planet, but the other half of the planet never heard about them, and they just got wiped out with a flood. And when you're a controller and you can control the meteorites, you can control the weather, you can control all of these things with 4D, it's pretty easy to wipe out a society like Tartaria. Pretty easy. This is all just my opinion, though. You can flush all this stuff down the toilet if you wish. It's completely fine. It's completely fine to disagree with me. Here. We just answered that from Joanne. We just answered that. All good. Here's Craig. What's up, Craig? Chuck, do you have you heard about the 26-second pulse coming from the west coast of Africa? Not specifically, but I've heard about many pulses, and I think that the Earth is a bell. It rings like a bell. I think it's sensitive to the radiation waves and waves in general that impact it and ring the Earth, ring the bell. And I think that's part of the reason why we get, earthquakes and so forth, is that these are fluctuations in the electromagnetic fields that bombard the planet. That's why our weather is determined by the sun and sunspots. The wet, obviously not the manipulated weather down here on Earth. I'm talking about the natural weather that happens on this planet, and the volcano activity and the natural earthquakes and so forth. Those all come out of the sun. Those all come off the sun. It's the electromagnetics and the gravity and the pull and push from the sun that cause that. Sorry, there's a gnat flying around, and yes, it's driving me mad, but oh well. Let's go to comments and see how you guys are doing. I'm now at the bottom where Catelyn Kisses just said, at Shan, this is postmodernism. The idea that everything is subjective nullifies the idea that there can be actual facts or what is real as opposed to man-made. Yeah, that's all really good philosophy there. You're opening up. Very good. Yeah. Here. Yeah, could have been. Exactly. I completely agree. Well, Max, you don't know if they have Tartaria buildings everywhere. There certainly have been other societies besides Tartaria that built magnificent buildings for sure. But yeah, they would be, like the pyramids are worldwide, but Atlantis was one location. So understand that this stuff spreads, and the world is a big place, and there are cataclysms that change the milieu of societies, and these change with time. Do you get it? Here. How do I know? I happen to be a freaking builder of the North Carolina's largest buildings. The superintendent, you think I'm kidding? I'm a builder of huge structures. And I'm agreeing with you, Max. I'm saying that these societies aren't necessarily known all around the world, yet they could be a huge society. Like what's happening in Antarctica. Most of the people don't believe what's going on in Antarctica, but it's a big deal. So absolutely. Absolutely. What will happen to those who won't awaken? Will they be loosed out further? If you refuse to awaken and you remain ignorant, then you will die. And what happens to you, you will have much less say in, because you will be living in the wake of your ignorance. And if you choose to live an ignorant life and you choose not to be aware and you choose not to grow up in your psyche, then you deserve whatever happens to you when you die, because you haven't prepared yourself. And that's a self-responsible behavior. And if you're going to remain unresponsible and you're not going to grow up and deepen your psychology and deepen your understanding of the world that you're in, then you'll die ignorant, and you'll just be basically prey of the wake of ignorance that you carried with you into death. No blame. You're just not going to be aware. You'll be put into a place where you'll be able to grow, where you'll be able to expand your consciousness if you want to. There's no heaven or hell or anything like that. It's just you enter a new life, and it's going to be in resonance and harmony with the life that you ended, right? So if I'm living a life of harm and hate and hell and all that kind of stuff, that's the karma I carry, and that's what I'm going to carry into my next life. You become the resonance that you emulate here. Yeah, good. What do we got here? I went from apprentice to superintendent, some of the largest buildings built in North Carolina during my career, during my lifetime. I'm pretty sure I got a little bit of credibility. Max, nobody's questioning that, buddy. It's all good, dude. I don't know how that's setting you off, but okay. Hey, Chuck asked this earlier, but how much truth do you reveal to your kids? I have a 10-year-old that asked lots of cues. That was one of the toughest things, Amber Cosmic, was walking through helping my kids release from Christianity. I began my journey away from Christianity in my mid-40s. And that was rough with the kids, because my kids were young. And so one of them is completely left and has completely washed themselves of it. And then the other one kind of goes back and forth with it. And I have no judgment. They can land wherever they wish to land. I don't. It's like me and my dad. My dad thinks completely different than me spiritually. I don't care. It doesn't bother me that my dad is a Christian and, is waiting for Jesus to come and save him. That's fine. I have no hang up about that. And that's completely fine. I love my dad. There's no condition there. There's no condition. My dad doesn't have to believe a certain way for me to love him. It doesn't matter. But my dad is going to die ignorant. Yeah. My dad will die ignorant of the Illuminati. He will die ignorant of any other world but the Christian world. He will die thinking that he's going to go to heaven and be with Jesus. He'll fall right into the light trap. He'll go right there. He's going to hear the voice of Jesus when he dies. He's going to hear friends and family when he dies, and he's going to go right into the trap. And, that's okay. That's where my dad is. No judgment there. No judgment. That's just where my dad's at. It's sad. It's tragic. I hate seeing him unaware and die unconscious. But that's the way it's going to go. And I love him. It's okay. It's just tragic. It's just tragic. Yeah, it rings like a bell. The earth rings like a bell. And part of that is from the sun, the radiation, and it's the friction of the wind, the solar wind. It creates a friction, and this creates resonance in the earth. The earth rings from the electromagnetic strikes that happen upon the earth, and it rings, and as it spins, it rings like a bell. The planets all ring. The planets, these solid structures ring. That's part of existence. Is you ring. Your resonance is your skin, your voice, the foods that you eat. These are all resonances, right? Because we're frequency beings. We consume and emulate frequency. Yeah, that's a big part of it, Craig. We must remember who we are. That is so important. And one of the things that they do when we come into being here is you lose all your memory. And this is one of the ways they frustrate your spiritual development, is that you don't have memory of your past lives. That's why it's important. And I think that some people can't go and see past lives, talk to past lives, be in past lives, and have those out-of-body experiences to remember our true identity, which has been purposefully taken from us by controllers, which is why they inculcated us with religion. They inculcated us with bad science. They forced us to eat, in many ways, bad, toxic GMO food that's been sprayed with glyphosate that destroys the gut, which harms the immune system and compromises a person's ability to think, because all your neurochemistry is made in your gut. So when I poison it with glyphosate, I am poisoning your neurosystem and your immune system, you see. And we must remember who we are in order to free ourselves from these things. We must remember who we are. That's it. Good. Do not go to the light. You're going to 5D. You're going to the void. And then you're going to come back either as a 4D spirit or as a 3D awakened individual. And you'll be a sage somewhere. Because as you continue to grow and awaken in your STO, your lifetimes that you experience will become more and more sage-like, you could say, as you begin to teeter into the 4D, which is pure spirit. Pure spirit. And so there's no form there. And there's a process of resonating higher and higher in your frequency through your lifetimes that eventually you resonate into. You resonate into such a frequency that you no longer are skin oriented. You're no longer form oriented. You're then spirit oriented because you have released from all that was bringing you into 3D. You have awakened and therefore you transcend. You become like the butterfly. And your time here, like you and me right now, are like the caterpillar. And we're learning and growing and eating and all that kind of stuff. And we're building and building our consciousness. And eventually, when we go to 5D, we come back as spirits. We relinquish the material obsession. We exhaust that experience and we move into the pure spiritual experience. Yeah, it's all a process and it's beautiful. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's see here. I just love this chat. Yeah. Yeah. Right on, Max. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yes, I agree, Daniel. I agree. I 100% agree. Yeah. It is, my friend. There's this is one of the really tough aspects of 3D, is that there's some really hard truths in it that are really tough to accept. And it is the higher and higher consciousness mind that will be able to accept these things. As you release more and more from material obsession, you'll be able to see the deeper truth that's past the material obsession, which is causing the material concern. And it's a real thing. And it's hard, Pop Quiz. I'm right there with you. It's really hard. It's really hard. It's hard to see your friends and family fall to traps. It's hard to see them die unaware. You know, it's hard. That's hard. It's a tough go here. It's a tough go. Yeah. The Masonic lodges were all taken over by the Lizzies and Draco consortiums. They were all taken over way back when. Back after the release of the alchemy, the technology of alchemy, which came out of ancient tribal systems and nature systems, and a world run by the female. And they came in and they made everything a patriarchal society. Patriarchy, meaning the male is the dominant, and they took over these advanced schools. Freemasonry and the masonry stuff comes out of the advanced schools from Egypt and before. And these were advanced elimination schools that would teach you these deeper principles found in alchemy and found in these esoteric disciplines. Those, all of those universities and libraries were destroyed at the Council of Nicaea. My opening on this Saturday talks a little bit about this. Were destroyed at the Council of Nicaea, and these groups of this ancient wisdom were all taken over They were all taken over by the Lizard and Draco consortiums through groups like the Illuminati, the Rothschilds, the Black Pope, the White Pope, the Gray Pope, the controllers of the society, the mobs, the mob heads. And they took all that ancient alchemy and they pornographied it, and they turned it into the Satanism and a psychic oppression that became Freemasonry, religion, and these controlling institutions, science, medicine. These were all ancient teaching, helping societies that the evil in the world flipped over into societies to destroy humanity. And so the Freemasons are completely captured. The Masonry, the societies, the knowledgeable societies are all captured. The Christians all destroyed all of them at the time of the Council, the Council of Nicaea, after the Council of Nicaea. And Christianity became law. That's why they killed Hypatia. And they're going to, I think I've got that on the show this Saturday. But Hypatia was basically the lead, the female. Again, here's the female. She was the lead for the library of Alexandria. And she was killed. She was skinned alive by Christians. That's how Hypatia died. She was one of the last females that was a true master and legend, a true shaman of ancient technology. And the Christians saw her as a threat. And so I think a group of Christians led by a gentleman named Peter the Reader, if I'm not mistaken, straight out of the church, went and skinned her alive with oyster shells because she would not submit. And so she died a martyr for alchemy and the true sacred geometry and essence that builds and makes the universe. She was a master, mistress of these technologies. She was like the Quan. And the church can't have competing religions. The church can't have anything that's smarter than it on the planet. And this is why the church went out and destroyed all competing religions, because the church isn't interested in having any competing religions. They are all to be destroyed and removed from the planet. And so that was the beginning of that. The killing of Hypatia by the Christians was really the beginning of the downfall and the beginning of the Freemasonry, the Illuminati, the beginning of all the evil of the world. Meaning organized, meaning moving in and organized. That's the Catholic Church. That's the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church is the Illuminati in a religious costume. And that's why the Catholic Church is nothing but a child collecting, tax collecting agency. That's what they did. And that's what they've always been. They've always been the controllers. They undergird all of the religious undercurrent of the world is the Illuminati. Yeah, tough truths there. Here, Chuck. Since your dad was approached by them, he was. Do you think he knows the Illuminati? No, but chose to not. My dad is just a man of integrity, to be honest with you, and he loves my mom. And so it wasn't because he knew of some plan that he didn't fall for their honeypots traps. It's because he has integrity and he loves my mom. And so he wasn't interested in having, a hooker or doing any of the stuff that they were trying to get him involved in. And my dad can't be bought. My dad doesn't care about money. And so when, I'm sure at times they were trying to buy him out and so on and so forth. There might be stories that he hasn't told me, but you can't buy my dad off. You can't buy him out. He's not interested in money. He was offered, like he had I won't say any names, but he had an agent that approached him years ago. And the agent wanted to be a representative for my dad. And so this agent said, hey, tell me what your fees are for going and speaking at different locations, and I'll get you more of a fee. And my dad said to him, he said, well, I don't have a set fee. And the agent said, wait, when you go and speak to a church or you go to speak to a huge men's group, you're not collecting a fee? And my dad said, well, sometimes they give me a fee, but usually they don't. I just love to do that. And the agent freaked out. And the agent's like, okay, listen, Chuck, listen, I will start getting you whatever fee you wish to have for any engagement you want. And my dad was like, I'm not interested in that. I'm going to these churches and talking to these people because I care about them and love them. And the agent eventually left because my dad wouldn't go along with any of the ways those agents typically go out and get money for a pastor or someone to go and speak at a location. And my dad just wouldn't go with it. He wouldn't allow him to start charging, say, $10,000, because my dad was embarrassed to go to a location and ask them, you're going to pay me $10,000 to come up here and talk for an hour. And my dad didn't want any part of that. And again, this is decades ago money. So it's more equal to something like 30 or 40,000 now is what this agent, you know, in today's money was wanting to get from my dad. And my dad was just like, I'm not interested in it. And that was it. So my dad really never has had, other than his lawyers that he has for his publishing, for his writing and books and stuff. But as far as my dad's, I don't think he's ever had an agent, because he just isn't interested in fees and money and all that stuff. It's just not his thing. He's not a salesman any more than I am. Me and my dad are the same in that way. But yeah, my dad is a man of integrity, and that's why he was never captured by the CIA, because my dad has a heart. He has integrity, and he loves my mom, and he loves me, and he loves the family. My dad, he's a good man. And so that's why the losers at the CIA and the MK Ultra idiots couldn't capture my dad, or even the Satanists, because LaVey contacted my dad too. I love you too, Max. Stay with your spiritual knowledge. Atlanta man that went from apprenticeship to superintendent, building the world's largest building. Talk about this and that. Yeah, I love you too, Max. So good. Here. Hi, Joanne. Chuck the Nature Creature. I have a tough time remembering, but I know that we are made of water and water remembers. Now it's to figure out how to recall. Yeah. And there are many ways to recall. Yeah. And memory is held and stored in all of this magnificence, because we're composed of light, and light composes the universe. So everything, including memory, is composed of light. And it is simply a matter of reconnecting to those passageways, those thoughts, and so forth that connect us to our deeper and deeper selves. Hi, April Kitten. Was reading that the Tartarians were humans that translated the Anunnaki's cuneiform tablets and developed the tech which allowed them to create cathedrals and evolve, so they were all killed with mud flood. Yeah, most likely they were an STO faction that were tied into Atlantean building technology. And so they started to build these towers that tap into the ionosphere and, you know, free electricity and so on and so forth, based on structures that were already established. And they were simply copying and bringing about an ancient lost technology. Maybe some of them were doing out-of-body stuff and connecting into ancient technology. But the bottom line is, yes, the Tartarians were building magnificent buildings, no doubt about it. And they were wiped out. There's no doubt about it. And probably a lot of the cathedrals that we see now, yeah, are basically, maybe it's an advanced technology for pyramids. They just made it into cathedrals, a different kind of way of accessing the ether. And I think all of these things are good things to just consider and run around in your mind to see if you can make better sense of it. But it could be that they did some of that translation. It could be, yeah. Let's go to the bottom right here. Yeah. Okay. A lot of questions have come in. Okay. I'm just going to go to the bottom here. Okay. So I just read where Real Shan wrote ditto. And yeah, Max, I'm sorry. Yeah, Max has endured a lot of loss. It's been tragic, but we love Max, and the Nature Creature family is on Max's team, and we're helping him out. We're helping out. We're a support to him, and we love him, and we see him every week on Zoom. And that's why we're here as Nature Creatures, to support one another. And that's what we do. And we love Max. No worries. No worries at all. No worries at all. Let's go to banners. Are we almost at, oh my, are you kidding? I just looked at the time. We've already been here 2 hours. This is supposed to be a 2-hour limit. I can't believe it. Have you guys had a good time? Are you not scared, Chuck? Here, what's this? No, I'm not at all. Not at all. Not at all. You can't unabashedly render the truth as you know it if you're scared. I'm not saying the truth as I know it is the truth. I am saying, though, that I'm not scared to talk and say the truth that has been rendered to me in my experience. And I know that is not necessarily your truth or anyone else's truth. But I'm not scared to render what I've learned. I'm not scared to render my faults where I've told you guys many times all the humiliation rituals that I've gone through basically my entire life, and the details that I can render of that, because a lot of that stuff involves family and friends, and I'm not going to name names, but people that I have loved that have betrayed me, that have stolen my money, that have used my name against me, that have used my father's name against me, you know, in weird, twisted ways. And there are people that have malicious intent with me. And that's just the way that it is. And I'm not afraid of that. I'm not running from that. It's just the way that it is. And it's fine. I've had my hard knocks just like anybody else. I've had my tough times in life just like anybody else. I don't say that my tough times were worse than anybody else or better than anybody else or any of that. We all have to go through it. Nobody gets through clean. Nobody gets through childhood clean. Everybody comes out with baggage. Everybody's got problems. Everybody as an adult, if you're participating in risking life, you've been crapped on a number of times. You've been punched in the face a number of times. You've taken it. That's called life. And it's not an easy go. And it's just, that's the way that it is. And so I just chalk all of those things up to my experience and what gives me the courage to talk to you guys right now, face to face, so to speak, honestly and transparently, and share with you my life. And through the sharing of my life, the things I've learned and the stuff that I've gone through, help bring about a light and betterment to the world. Really. That's why I'm here. That's why I started Nature Creature. That's why we're all participating in this, because we all want to be that light to one another. That's called being a human being. Loving one another, shining light to one another, resonating where you resonate. And when you don't resonate with someone, fine too. No problem. We don't resonate with everybody. It's okay. Sometimes we don't get along. Sometimes we have disagreements. I had a bad disagreement, a run-in with Zoom this week. It's okay. Accidents happen. People get offended. It's okay. That's the way it is. That's life. You got to grow thicker skin in this world. You got to be thick-skinned, and you got to be able to take it on the chin sometimes to be able to continue on and not get bitter and not try and push your crap on others, you know, your frustrations on others. You take ownership and move on. Exactly what Fortune showed us tonight. That's exactly it. And when life craps on you, you just clean up yourself and get up and keep going. Stop blaming, stop condemning, stop bringing other people down, stop shaming others, stop trying to bring others into your misery. Really, get over yourself, you know? And I'm not saying that you, Rose. I'm just saying in general, you got to get over yourself in order to not be afraid. But you're going to be afraid if you can't get past yourself. If you're a narcissist, you're living in fear. So good stuff, rulers. Great stuff. Love it. Yes, love yourself. Absolutely, Daniel. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. And yes, thank you to Gail. She is a huge, wonderful contributor. Come on, bring it up. She's a huge, wonderful contributor to us here. And I'm very thankful for Gail. Very thankful for Max. Very thankful for you, rulers, and your participation. Really, thank you. And hello, Romania. Heck yeah. Hello, Miss Redhead. I haven't seen you tonight. Great. It's great to see you. Yeah. He's wonderful. Max is a wonderful man. No worries. No worries at all. And thank you for being here, Miss Redhead. You're a wonderful lady, for sure. Yeah. All good, April Kitten. I love you too. All good. All good. Is High Verbal going to take us out? Hey, High Verbal. Chuck. Old Southern saying, sometimes the hardest thing to rise above is your own raising. Exactly. Heck yeah. Getting past yourself is one of the toughest things to do in this world. Trust me. The sooner you take yourself less seriously, the happier you'll be. As long as you try to take yourself seriously and people got to bow to you and people got to respect you whenever, you know, just trying to force your thing into it, trying to force yourself in it, you're never going to be happy. You got to get past yourself, man. Let's join together, be together on the ground level and do it. Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I am a handyman. That is very true. I repaired my own water, replaced all the plumbing in the house, all that good stuff. We all do what we got to do. Sometimes life is tough. You got to get past it. Love you guys. I will see you next week. We will do this again next Wednesday at 4 o'clock, 4 to 6. And don't miss Saturday's show. I've got a big intro on Saturday that's going to be a deeper insight into Atlantis than what we're used to. And we're going to be talking about that. So my Atlantis presentation coming up on Saturday is not going to be your typical. We're going to get into some deep secrets on that. Heck yeah. We'll see you later, Craig. Love you guys. I'll see you next time. What I'm going to do is I'll play the intro so you guys can sit and chat if you want to in chat. And have a great time. Here we go. Add a stage. Here we go. How good is it sound on? Is it running? It should come on. There it is. Okay, I'm going to let this run for the next 15 minutes. And if you guys want to sit and chat, that's great. I'll leave your little post right there up the whole time. And I love you guys. I really do. I love our chat time together. I love Wednesdays. I love Saturdays. And I love Sundays. The Zoom time with you guys is a sacred time. And I am very thankful for it. I'm very thankful for it. And I will fight for you guys. And I will protect that group. I will protect you guys. All right. I love you guys. See you next time. Bye-bye.